is more. I was actually watching this fucking, I don't know, I guess it's like a speed dating show on Snapchat. It's called The Button. And this chick gave the dude the button after like a minute and a half. And like the button talks and they were like, "Why'd you give him the button?" She's like, "The hat."
It's all about that.
As soon as he came out, I'm like, "Oh no, not the IPA hat." She buttoned him for the hat. I was like, "Damn."
Everyone
Remind me not to get one of those
everyone
hats.
here is wearing a different hat. I'm wearing a Super Bowl hat. You're wearing a Tigers hat, and apparently Jay is wearing an IPA hat.
I'm wearing.
Angle.
I'm
It's not an IPA hat.
Look,
hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into another episode of the Gauntlet as we have Bacon Grizzler in the house. Eagles, Super Bowl champs, like I basically told you guys was going to happen.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
told you guys from the season that we were the best team, and the only team that was going to ultimately stop us is ourselves, and that is exactly what happened. So before we start, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl, but tonight we're giving our yearly awards. This is the Gauntleys. No, we're not dressed up wearing suits, but we're going to have a fun time. But I want to talk about the Super Bowl and how everything played out for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Great experience with Sideline Sports covering the team, doing interviews, going to events was very unique experience in New Orleans. Really enjoyed it down there as well. Great food, great drinks and everything too. So we just had a really fun time together, and it's just special to be a part of stuff like that. But let's talk about the game. Let's talk about what happened. Patrick Mahomes was totally overwhelmed in this game from the start. He could not do anything against this defense. So, first thing I want to say about the Chiefs, people have got way too far ahead of themselves when it comes to the dynasty talk and this is the greatest run ever. And Patrick Mahomes is already ahead of Tom Brady, who won 7 Super Bowls, by the way. He won 7, and Mahomes has won 3. The Chiefs were arrogant. They got ahead of themselves. They put out posts saying, we're going to buy the trademark of three-peat. And that's really what pissed the team off. Milton Williams, who had a strip sack in this game, he pointed it out that they heard that the Chiefs were doing that, and it pissed the team off to an extreme degree. And you saw how angry and violent this defense
James,
was.
your audio coming to me is kind of.
They forced turnovers. Absolutely got after Patrick Mahomes. And on the offensive side, Jalen Hurts is the Super Bowl MVP. Jalen Hurts, deep ball, late in third quarter, Devontae Smith, perfectly placed. This is a guy that you guys said, I'm not talking about the panel, I'm just saying the national media and everyone that pushed these narratives about Jalen Hurts saying, oh, well, Jalen Hurts can't get it done. Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. Jalen Hurts is carried. Jalen Hurts is the problem. Yet, in 2 Super Bowls against the guy that some people was claiming he's the best quarterback ever. Patrick Mahomes is the best thing ever. He's better than Tom Brady. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. And even if you look at the stats of this game, Patrick Mahomes passed for like 250-something yards. He put garbage stats like Dak Prescott. He didn't do anything until he was already down 40-6 with like 5 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He did absolutely nothing in this game. The Eagles dominated all the way from start to finish. And this is the best Eagles team I've ever seen. I think Jalen Hurts is the best Eagles quarterback ever. I think he's better than Donovan McNabb. I think he's better than Randall Cunningham. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He's a Super Bowl champion. And he's done things that no Eagles quarterback has done, played in 2 Super Bowls. And I think the way the team is set up, we have all our core pieces locked in. This team is going to be continuing to compete for the Super Bowl for many years.
And shout out to Bacon Grizz in the comments. Congrats on your team, bro. Y'all did it. In my humble opinion,
that's right. He's a Philly fan too. I forgot.
I would like to point out that This is probably one of the biggest turnarounds for the Philadelphia Eagles I'd ever seen. They went from being probably one of the worst 11-6 teams to the best Eagles team that anyone's probably seen. I mean, they were dominant the entire season. And excuse me, when they signed Saquon Barkley, I said, if this guy can stay healthy, watch out. In the game, Barkley had a quiet day, save for that one falling back catch he had, like near the 5-yard line. And even in this game, he still broke an NFL record, most yards in a regular season and postseason, 2,500 plus. Um, this was just domination from top to bottom. Josh Sweat got it in. He had 2.5 sacks and how many quarterback hits? Here's the thing.
6 pressures, 2.5 sacks.
In Super Bowl history, there have only been 6 teams that went the whole game and didn't blitz. Philly was one of them. The previous 5 teams won. Patrick Mahomes is at his worst when you send 4 and drop 7, and that was evident on Sunday night. When that pick 6 happened with Cooper DeJean and leave it to someone scored a touchdown on their birthday, but it wasn't Saquon, it was Cooper DeJean. That right there, something about when he picked that ball off, I'm like, he's going in. He's going to take it all the way. He's going to take it all the way. He went all the way in. Everyone goes crazy. That moment right there. And I know we're talking about Patrick Mahomes on the other side. I know we're talking about the Chiefs. I don't give a damn what nobody got to say. When that pick six happened, I said the Chiefs are in trouble. I can't explain it. It's something in my spirit, but I don't think they can come back from this. They had a total of 23 total offensive yards in the first half. The least number of offensive yards in a Super Bowl in 35 years.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
And they were essentially shut out all the way through the third quarter until there was like 2 minutes or something left in the third was when they scored their first touchdown.
Yeah, that's when Philly went in to prevent you from winning defense.
Yeah, and then let's face it, on that drive, pretty much the Eagles just pinned their ears back and was like, you know, if they get down the field and score, it's going to take up time. We're going to get the ball back and kill more time because this thing is over with. Anyhow, me and James were down there live on location. We covered the Super Bowl and everything. I want to swing it to Dom and get your thoughts about the game.
Well, as you two may or may not know, I did not watch the first half by design. Mostly because I didn't necessarily care all that much who won. I was kind of secretly rooting for Philly. Would have been nice if we got a chance to at least play them and then probably ultimately lose, because at least then I could be like, hey, we lost to the champs. But after Washington lost, which I knew they were gonna, you can't root for KC. Like, Patrick Mahomes, nice guy, great quarterback. Andy Reid seems like a nice guy, great quarterback.
Great coach.
But no one on earth that isn't a Chiefs fan was rooting for the Chiefs. No one, myself included, you two included as well, I'm certain. But like I said, I wasn't watching the game, but I did have my phone up and I'm checking the game tracker. I see Philly scored first. I'm like, okay. Then I saw they had a turnover. I said, oh, that's not good. I'm like, KC still doesn't have one. So I'm like, okay, they're up, but they're down one in the turnover battle. What did I say for my prediction before the game? I said, the Eagles have to play damn near perfect ball or at least win the turnover battle by probably more than one. And then I think it was that pick six. What did it make the score? Like 16 zip, 14 zip,
17-0.
16. Yeah. Because Philly got a field goal, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I saw, like I said, I was watching the game tracker, and KC had the ball, and then I see 6 more for Philly, and I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, a pick 6, you say? I'm like, well, that wipes out that turnover and then some, because it just cost you 6 points. In my mind, I'm like, if KC doesn't come right back right now and score, they're done. And they didn't. That game was over at halftime in my mind. After that bomb to Devontae Smith, it was 100% over at that point. Like, Roseanne was in the tunnel warming up. The fat lady was ready to sing. So, yeah, like Jay said, Philly dominant all year. I've gone on record multiple times this year, last year, probably the year before, that Philly has the best roster in football. I couldn't even tell you who has the second best roster. I might have said KC at some points here and there. Their defense was great all year, but their offense really wasn't anything special. That was a very un-Patrick Mahomes-esque regular season. They kept getting bailed out. by, let's say, close calls. They kept winning a bunch of one-score games, and I'm like, that's not how you want to live and die in the NFL. And yeah, they just got worked over. Like Jay said, anytime you can rush 4 and drop 7, Mahomes is in trouble. That's any quarterback. But that right there proves that Patrick Mahomes is human. He's not Tom Brady. He's a long way from being Tom Brady.
No. And
He
Tom
is.
Tom Brady
He's
was on the call for Fox in this game, and I can tell you that he was pretty happy to see Patrick Mahomes playing like that after what
I think
everyone
so
said
too.
about.
I'll give
I really
Brady.
think so.
I mean, I'll give Mahomes and Andy Reid their just due. They are probably the best quarterback and head coach of their generation. But Andy Reid has won all the Super Bowls that Patrick Mahomes has, and has been to a couple more. You never see or hear people talking about Andy Reid as the greatest head coach of all time. And
No,
it's
but
that
they
prisoner of
should.
the moment thing that I hate. He's had a great start to his career. He had a nice 2-year run, and he ran into a better team.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he ran into a better team the first time you guys played. You just happened to lose the turnover battle. But he was outplayed, like you said, outplayed by Jalen Hurts 2 times in a row. And this time, the right team and the right guy won. All the props to Jalen Hurts. I've been a supporter and a fan of him from day one. And hopefully now this shuts people up about him. Even at this point, even with the Super Bowl, no one's gonna, going into the next year, no one's gonna call him the guy, but they better at least damn well call him a guy, because he's definitely a guy. He's got a Super Bowl ring.
He's top 5.
You know what? I want
He's
to
top 5
highlight.
with no question.
I want to highlight what Bacon Grizzly said just now, and let this be a lesson of people out there anointing someone the GOAT too soon. Okay, because if we want to count Super Bowl losses, Tom Brady lost 3 times in the Super Bowl. They were all one-score games, and he had the lead in the fourth quarter. Mahomes has been blown out twice in the Super Bowl now. You still want to have this GOAT debate?
No.
Right.
And when Tom Brady lost to the Eagles, he had one of the best games ever.
It's like trying
Let's
to
not
call
forget
LeBron
about
the
that.
GOAT instead of MJ. Like, MJ's got more rings. MJ
So
never
the
lost
last
in the
word
finals.
before we move on to the Gauntleys and all the awards, this is just the last word that I want to say. Because you brought it up, Mahomes and the 2 Super Bowl losses. They're both kind of similar, if you think about it, with the defense overwhelmed them. The pass rush overwhelmed them against Tampa, against Philadelphia, completely overwhelmed. So, this is the question for the rest of the AFC. Buffalo, Baltimore, Bengals, all these teams that Patrick Mahomes is in your way. You've already seen what works, yet you're not building the team the right way. You're
And
not.
Cincinnati wants to,
You're
look
not.
at getting rid of Trey Hendrickson.
You want to
Yeah, that'll
spend.
help you beat
Hold on. You want to
Mahomes.
spend all this money on
T. Higgins.
wide receivers and tight ends and running backs and all this. But what you need to be doing is build an elite defensive line that's going to get after Mahomes, and that's how you're going to beat him, because you've seen twice that when you have a strong defensive line, you can completely overwhelm it.
Someone again remind me, because it seems like a lot of people have forgotten. Where are NFL games won and lost?
Offensive line, defensive line.
In the motherfucking trenches. I
And
wish I
that
would
is-
have. Honestly, I wish I would have watched that first half, so I could have seen Patrick Mahomes get sacked all those times.
Oh, it was ugly.
All right, guys. When we get back, it's time for the awards, starting with the Sports Moron of the Year.
You do know we know Weezy.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Gauntleys, our version of the NFL honors, where we give out our yearly awards for everything. Sports Moron of the Year goes to the biggest idiot in sports.
Fuck that.
So-
The NFL honors are the Gauntlet version of whatever the fuck they're doing.
Or whatever Dom just said. So, Dom, do you want to start us off with your Sports Moron of 2024-2025?
I would love to. Damn it! I wish I would have. Oh, damn! I wish you could Google it right quick. Because I would like to call him out by his government name. I'm assuming his first name is Nicholas. His middle name should be Moron. Seems good. It's Nick Wright. Where do we begin? Let's start with maybe going all the way back to the offseason when he predicted that the Bears would not only make the playoffs but contend for a Super Bowl, possibly win one. How'd that work out for you, Nick Wright? That one, that might be his worst offense. There's so many. I feel like we talked about him on a weekly basis.
He said
He's
Saquon Barkley was not going to make a difference for the Eagles. Don't forget that one.
Yes, he did. He said some other things that were also quite irritating. He had a very unkind, I don't say nickname, but label for Jared Goff. I don't remember what it was. Like, did Jared Goff fall short in the playoffs? Yes, he did. But he's still better than probably 24 quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not saying he's top 5. He's not elite, but he's very near the top of that, tier 2, not elite. Elite moments, not elite quarterback. There's so many other things. I should have written more of them down. That Bears one has stuck in my craw all year, and I just laughed every week that they lost. I might have to start hounding him on Twitter.
And his chief homerism is just horrible. And I've kept up with Nick.
Oh yeah,
right?
what is he called? The Mahomes Mountain or some shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, Nick Wright has been an analyst for a number of years, but before Mahomes, I never recall him being a Chiefs fan. So first of all, he's a bandwagon fan that goes on TV, flaunts
I'm
for
just
the
glad he
Chiefs.
grew his hair out so people don't say that.
That's why all week when he kept saying, "Well, the Chiefs are going to do this, the Chiefs are going to do that," that just gave me more confidence that the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl.
He's kind of just like I don't know. He's like a front-running Skip Bayless.
I actually think Skip's a lot more intelligent.
I mean, I don't want either one of them, trying to defuse a bomb for me, or put a parlay together, or make accurate Super Bowl predictions or playoff predictions.
Well, Skip predicted the Eagles since the preseason.
Oh,
so let's give the guy props.
Okay, yeah. All right. I mean, it would have been easy to just give Skip the back-to-back sports moron from me, but Nick Wright ran away with that in fucking August.
All right, so Jay, you're going to be next. Who's the sports moron of the year?
Okay. Well, as a disclaimer, okay, this is not towards the team. All right. Congratulations, Ohio State Buckeyes. You won it all. You did it. You ran through the playoffs and you took home the trophy. So this has nothing to do with you, okay? But my sports moron of the year is the Ohio legislation for the flag plant, for that soft taco shell bullshit, trying to make a law to make it a felony to plant a flag in their home stadium. It's like, okay, but you know what? I want you to think of the grand scheme of things. And when this got brought up on a previous episode, it's like, so you want to ruin a young man's future by giving him a felony? He didn't sell drugs. He didn't kill anyone. He didn't.
I was going to say, could you imagine being in a cell and they're like, "What are you in for?" He's like, "Oh, I robbed a liquor store and shot the clerk. What'd you do?" "Oh, plant a flag."
Plant a flag.
That's fucked up.
Think about how like fucked up that sounds, right? Like you want to ruin their future and behind something like that, no assault case, no assault charge, no carjacking, no embezzlement.
The thing about it is that, if you went to prison somewhere in Ohio, if you had planted a Michigan flag, you'd probably get beat down for that shit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so with that being said, and I'll keep it short, that was just really, really soft, and they really, 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 like, I get it, okay? You got to beat Michigan, but you went and you took home the trophy. But even at that time period, that was uncalled for. I think that notion was, I think it was an emotional move. They acted emotionally instead of logically on that. They thought with their feelings on that, obviously, and they got exposed for it. So, yeah, this is for the state of Ohio legislation for even thinking up that pansy-whack bullshit and throw that shit in the garbage can. Congrats, Buckeye.
You
James,
don't
take
have to
it away.
Michigan anymore. And that's why the NCAA playoff system is
my sports moron of the year goes to the Blue Cowboys. Not the Red Cowboys, but the Blue Cowboys. The actual Cowboys. And all the clownery of this franchise, pretty much since the beginning of the year when you had Cherry Jones saying, well, we're going to go all in and stuff. Didn't sign anybody, didn't do anything to improve the team, while you had the Eagles making all these improvements, bringing in Saquon Barkley, drafted Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean at the pick 6 in the Super Bowl, had all these improvements to the team. Also, Washington drafting Jaden Daniels, all the improvements they made to their teams, and all these other teams that made improvements while you sat and did nothing. And yet you're claiming you're going to be all in. All the excuses, all the nonsense, all the podcasts with Micah Parsons. Micah, after the Cowboys got destroyed by the Eagles, well, if you take away their 50 points or whatever we scored against them, we would have
Boy, those dozen or so plays that they scored on.
We kind of outplayed the Eagles, and Chris Sims kind of copied him after the Rams game as well, using the same logic, which is just absolutely stupid. And then just to put the cherry on it and put the cherry on the top, Dak Prescott in his charity event earlier this week said, quote, "We're close to the Eagles. We beat them every time we play against them. We beat Washington. Dak, you have not played against this Eagles team. With this defense, with this offense, with Saquon Barkley, you have not played against this version of the Eagles, and you are nowhere close to us.
That's like
nowhere
embarrassing.
close.
Close to the Lions.
You're not even close to the Commanders, let alone close to the Eagles. So don't be surprised that the Cowboys are absolutely destroyed again come next season, and they're not going to make the playoffs. I'm putting on the record before free agency, before the draft. No playoffs back-to-back years for the Cowboys.
I'm here for it.
The Titans might be a better run team, and they gave away A.J. Brown. How much dipshittery can be on one team?
Damn,
I mean,
harsh.
You let Derrick Henry walk to the Ravens. He comes to your stadium and makes you pay for it. Oh, we're going all in this year. We got all these people that y'all don't even know. He said this, right? We got all these folks that was on the bench that y'all ain't never seen before. Where were they? What was they doing? Who were these fools? You talking about the milkmen and the mailmen and the pizza delivery guys? These were the dudes you was talking about?
Bartenders.
And then on top of that, you're probably a lot closer to the Giants. But and then on top of that, your hated rival, the Eagles, won the Super Bowl. I would not be shocked.
This is not the comments you make right after your rival wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And then now Dak's even in on it. Okay, Mr. 240 million. You know what? I would not be surprised if there are a significant number of defectors from that fan base this season, because at this point, it's got to be like being in an abusive relationship. It does. It just does.
Most of my Cowboys fan friends, they were so disgusted with this team before even like the midway point of the season, they just weren't watching football at all.
Hey, Dom, did you know that Kenny Pickett has more plays in a Super Bowl than Dak Prescott?
And in an NFC Championship game.
All hell maybe
I don't think he has. If he has one snap, he's got more than Dak.
Yep.
Even if it was a kneel down.
All right, you want to roll to the next one?
Next one, guys, is Gauntlet Grinder of the Year, aka MVP. Who is your Gauntlet MVP? Starting with Dom.
I have a feeling I'm gonna say who you're probably gonna say, so you go first.
Okay.
Somebody else go. I don't want to steal anyone else's thunder.
So my gauntlet.
There's enough thunder for the both of us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my Gauntlet Grinder of the Year is Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase. To me, it was an easy call. He won the Triple Crown this year. I'm going to explain a little bit more on my next pick, the Ghost of the Year. But I'll just say this: anyone who anyone who wins the wide receiver triple crown, they got to be a contender, if not outright winning the award, in my opinion. Led the league in receptions and receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. The man was just flat out amazing. Had his best year, in my humble opinion. The numbers support it. Most definitely Gauntlet Grinder. Oh, and he caught the game winner on Monday Night Football against the Blue Cowboys in their stadium. Yeah, that one's for you, Jerry. Where were your mailmen and beermen then, huh? Go ahead.
Jamar Chase, that's a good shout. I think we know who the real answer is Saquon Barkley. The Eagles were already a great team. We already went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Had the issues last season. But Saquon has taken the Eagles to the next level. And we were not able to be stopped because even though teams try to stack the box, the offensive line just moved everybody out of the way. Saquon just goes for 60, 70-yard touchdowns like it's nothing. 2,000 yards, fell a little short of the record. Didn't play in the last
how many
regular
times
season
did he have
game.
like a 60-plus yard rushing touchdown in the first quarter?
I
4,
mean,
5
against
times?
Washington, the NFC Championship, he scores on the first play from scrimmage, and that's kind of how you knew how this game was going to go in that NFC Championship against Washington. So Saquon Barkley just completely changed life for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's going to be here for the foreseeable future, which is why I think the Eagles are going to be continuing to compete to go to the Super Bowl every year, and maybe we'll get a couple more.
I got a good one now that I thought about it. I think a worthy pick, Joe Burrow.
There you go.
He pretty much put that team on his back. He willed them to as many victories. Him and Jamar Chase, obviously a dynamite connection. Willed that team to as many wins as he could. Defense did him absolutely zero fucking favors. Would have made the playoffs if Kansas City hadn't already clinched and started fucking Carson Wentz against.
Who, by the way, Carson Wentz ducked Jalen Hurts in the handshake after the game.
Yeah, I saw that. Indy did all right with those picks they got, though, for him.
Shout out to Carson Wentz because he has now seen his replacement win the Super Bowl MVP twice while he's on the bench. So congratulations, buddy. But just before we wrap this one up and move on to our next award, I do want to point out that if we had an MVP vote, none of us voted for Lamar Jackson and none of us voted for Josh Allen, who won the MVP.
I think that Joe Burrow would have won the MVP since he made the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I think he had a better season than Josh Allen, but Josh Allen winning the MVP, it almost kind of reminds me of Embiid a little bit because they just kind of got annoyed with Jokic winning it. So they felt sorry for him, gave it to him. I think it's kind of the same thing with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
But at least the NFL didn't immediately make a rule change ensuring that Josh Allen could never win another one. But the NBA sure did with Embiid.
The crazy part about that is not only did Saquon Barkley not get one MVP vote, last I read, Jamar Chase didn't even get an Offensive Player of the Year vote neither.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I think Saquon did not get. I think he got one first place vote, maybe, or none.
I read none, but even still, it was much too little. Like if he was going to finish second, okay.
Someone's going to have to run for 2,500 yards in the regular goddamn season to win it, and then they still won't win it. It's a quarterback. They should just not even call it the MVP anymore. They should just call it the
MVQB.
Best quarterback.
MVQB.
Yep, the MVQB award.
All right, guys, we're ready for the next award.
Dun, 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 dun. So this is a new category that we're actually introducing everybody.
The Ghost of the Year award goes to the team or player, whoever you want to pick, that disappeared when their fans were counting on them and their teammates were counting on them the most. Who wants to start us off with this one?
Oh man, I gotta go.
Separate from the most disappointing team.
No, it's basically the same.
It's almost the same.
Oh, okay.
Let me
just named it something better.
Let me. I gotta lead this one off. Okay. So in connection to my pick for Gauntlet Grinder of the Year, Jamar Chase, And in connection to Dom's pick for Gauntlet Grinder of the Year, quarterback Joe Burrow, my ghost of the year is Bengals head coach Crack Taylor. Because he had to be smoking crack the whole goddamn season to have a non-existent defense, nothing but basically the offense. Even Higgins was going off. You know, how you've heard us say it all season long, how much more does Burrow have to do? How much more does Chase have to do? They got to 9-8. Like, they shouldn't have even been like in the race. Like, they should have been just, they should have easily locked down a wild card, you figure, right? Or even won a division with the type of season that they had. This is why and you know what? Let it be known. It's time for him to go. I know he went to the Super Bowl 3 years ago and all that. No. When you have a season where your quarterback busted his ass, who, by the way, won Comeback Player of the Year, when you have a wide receiver who busted his ass, and then how do you repay them with no deep? Taylor's got to go. That DC's got to go. And massive overhaul to the defense. But it's got to start with the head coach. So, free base, Crack Taylor, ghost of the year.
All right, I'm gonna go next. And, I know that I was talking about the Cowboys earlier. And I can't really say the Cowboys haven't won anything because they did win the Sports Moron of the Year. But I can't have the Blue Cowboys be by themselves, man. I can't have them be by themselves at the winning table. Man, the Red Cowboys is the ghost of the year. Listen, all this team did 2 years ago was cry the whole offseason for the NFC Championship. Well, if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt, blah, blah, blah. The 49ers got robbed in the NFC Championship, which they got their ass kicked by the Eagles. So you think that was enough? You think that getting your ass kicked was not enough? That is kind of what started everything. And they kicked our ass in the regular season last year. And that's the Red Cowboys logo. I used the AI to create that. So that's the 49ers logo. We'll be in San Francisco next year for the Super Bowl. Me and Jay will. So the Red Cowboys, though, this was a team that even after they lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, this team's going to continue to run the NFC. Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, they're the next thing. And they got smoked this year. They didn't even make the playoffs. They're a joke. They're not the team that everyone thinks they are. They get so much credit and so much hype for not doing anything. They have a Super Bowl drought that's actually longer than the Cowboys. The Cowboys has won a Super Bowl more recently than the 49ers.
95. And Frisco won it in 94.
So this team is not winning anything, yet you guys are acting like they're some kind of dynasty or something. And I don't see it changing. Next year, you're going to be paying Brock Purdy like $50, $60 million a year? You think Brock Purdy is worth that?
You know who Brock Purdy is when he doesn't have CMC?
You have Deebo Samuel looking like some kind of fat ass. He's looking like a defensive tackle running routes. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk is overrated. Christian McCaffrey's always injured. Trent Williams is a great left tackle, but he's getting so old. Their window is getting completely shut.
It's shut.
They're completely shut. They're not going to be dominating in the NFC. It's going to be the Eagles, it's going to be the Lions, and it'll be a couple other teams like the Rams in the mix. But the 49ers are so overrated. They're the Red Cowboys. They barely do anything, and they keep getting credit. Ghost of the year for this year, and probably next year and the year after that. Red Cowboys.
Nominee for the
Red Cowboys. Forget about the Chiefs three-peat. The Red Cowboys are three-peating for the Ghost Award. That's my rant.
There it
is.
Is.
Brock Purdy is when Christian McCaffrey's not healthy.
Jimmy Garoppolo
with a worse record. Same
stats. I think Jimmy G is better. I think Jimmy G is better.
He is.
And here's the thing behind Purdy. I don't dislike the guy at all. I think he's talented.
Like a seventh grader.
when he became the starter and he started so many games, there was a side by side, and him and Jimmy G had similar stats. They are the same
Basically the same
guy.
guy.
I've said this. They're the same guy. Oh no! See, the problem is people tend to pay, a lot of attention to the shiny new red toy. No pun intended. Because he's new, he's a new face and everything like that. Plus, he's got this backstory. He's Mr. Irrelevant, all sort of kind of shit. Him and Jimmy G, the same dude. They the same guy.
They're
They the
trying
same
to talk
dude.
about him like he was
Because
Tom
I've said
Brady.
it before.
And both met the same fate against Patrick Mahomes.
San Francisco has not had a difference maker at quarterback since they won that Super Bowl in 1994. His name was Steve Young.
Steve Young, yeah.
Steve Young was a good quarterback.
That was 30 years ago.
But and I'll say
probably he's probably going to be paid more than Dak, because Dak was
if they give him that money, they are so the Red Cowboys. They might just have to change their name to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys will have to find a new name.
Cowboys.
Because that is such a Cowboys move.
Who do you got, Dom?
Honestly, I went a little bit different direction as far as a team, and it pains me to say it. I mean, I guess I could put it on one guy, but I can't really. But it's the Lions. We fought so hard, tooth and nail, all year, swept our division, undefeated on the road, number 1 seed, first round bye. And then we went out sad as fuck against a team named after my ball sack, the Washington Foreskins. And it really hurts my feelings. I didn't know how to feel. Like, I had a feeling that it was maybe going to happen because, as you recall throughout the year, I didn't really get too. I mean, I was confident for most of the year because I knew, we had a good team put together. Pretty much all the same guys coming back, coaching staff, blah, 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 all that. Won the division the year before. And I figured we could at least get back to where we were. And I'm like, God damn, all year. They just kept playing well, kept winning games, winning close games, blowouts, home, road. And I'm like, we got to get that fucking first round bye because I don't want to play Philly in December. And we didn't get that far. I did not like the matchup against Washington. We have not been good against mobile quarterbacks for most of my adult life that I recall. Since mobile quarterbacks have been a thing, we've struggled with them. Going all the way back to like fucking Mike Vick. I bet a record against Randall Cunningham wasn't much better. I did see the Lions when the Lions were god awful. Like 2000, God, how many years ago was it? 2003 in Atlanta. It was back when we went like a year without winning a road game. That was some of the best defense I've ever seen played against Michael Vick. It's also 20 years ago, and we don't have any of those guys anymore.
Yeah.
So, got to regroup. Got to get better. There's some issues on that defensive line. I would really like to see them take a big swing at someone like Myles Garrett or Hendrickson or Max Crosby. I don't see it happening. Our GM, he's not that guy. I don't even know if he's going to draft a D-end high because he's not done well with that. And for him to make a big trade or sign, a free agent for a lot of money, it's almost admitting that you fucked up in the draft. Like, well, I can't draft him, so I guess I better trade for one or put big money into one. And he doesn't put much stock in top tier free agents. But yes, very disappointing singular playoff game appearance after a fabulous regular season and really disappointing.
I think it's a lesson. And what happened with the Lions, I think it actually, in my opinion, I think it was mostly mental. It's a lesson. It's a hard lesson to learn what happens when you look past your opponents. I think the Lions went into the Commanders game already looking ahead to the Eagles. One could argue that in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs went in looking ahead to the parade. What happened in both games? You see?
I don't think that we necessarily looked past them. I don't think we thought we were going to roll over them.
Dude, most of America had y'all rolling over the Commanders.
Honestly, this is what I'm going to say. I really think it's an unacceptable loss by the Detroit Lions.
It absolutely is.
As the number 1 seed at home, losing to a team like Washington, that's unacceptable. But at the same time, I do want to say that Frankie Louvu is a dirty-ass player. and what he did to Jared Goff is also unacceptable because he also did the same thing to Jalen Hurts, if you remember last regular
And Goff
season
was
game.
not right after that hit.
So Jared Goff, as much as everyone was hating and saying he's a choker and he can't do anything in the playoffs, I do think that he was severely messed up after that hit because he didn't look like the Jared Goff that we've seen the last couple of years in Detroit. So that's the only thing I would
unflagged, by the way.
That's the only thing I would say in fairness.
Yeah, very disappointing.
Frankie Louvu is a dirty ass player.
It's going to be a long off season.
Didn't even get
and it's
flagged.
weird because I can remember seasons where we won a lot less games, never even sniffed the playoffs, and it's like, goddamn, I just want free agency to be over. I want the draft to be over. Like I need to fast forward to week 1 right now because until then I'm gonna have a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to feel after we lost that game. Like I don't know if I should be mad, sad. I was just like,
the Lions are going to look a lot different next year. Coaching changes. Everything's going to be different for that team.
Yeah. Have you seen our road opponents?
Who do y'all got?
I know
every good quarterback you could think of in the AFC and a couple good ones in the NFC.
So they got a tough schedule coming up next year.
Yes, but they said our schedule was tough this year, and it didn't end up being. I don't. We played really well during the regular season, and we went undefeated on the road, which is fucking crazy.
Enough talent. They still have enough talent that they should be the favorites in the NFC North.
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go right here. Okay, so their opponents are set. Okay, so they got the division. They're at Washington, at Philadelphia, at Cincy, at Baltimore. You got to see JD5 in a rematch. Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and maybe Matt Stafford. That's brutal.
I saw that.
That's
I was
brutal.
Like,
now your home game.
We're winning 15 games next year, but guess what? Didn't think we were winning 15 this year. Should have bet the over. Should have bet the over last year. I can't bet on this team. I can't bet against this team.
What was your thoughts when Amon-Ra said that the Lions should play the Eagles week 1 because that's what the NFC Championship should have been?
Oh, all for it. That'd be sweet. Standalone primetime. Fuck yeah.
I mean, a game could be exciting, but I don't know if that's what you want to say when you got your ass kicked in the divisional round. Like, this should have been the game.
It should have, because we should have beat Washington, but we didn't. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Should have went out there.
If I'm Detroit, I would be more excited to play Washington and beat their ass instead of, what if we play the Eagles?
True. But, I mean, either one, they'll both be great games, but it's a good measuring stick.
Yeah, but that is a brutal schedule.
I don't necessarily, with as short as the preseason is and, like, the limitations that they put in practice, I kind of like, unless your team just looks incredibly bad and I know that you're better, the first 2-3 weeks of the season, it's almost like extended preseason. As long as you don't go 0-3 or you don't go 1-2 and someone in your division's 3-0 already with a win against you, like you can rebound from 1-2. 0-3, that's tough.
Hey, now Dom, you may actually win. Now, again, you got to face your division, but as far as your out of division opponents, for home games next year, you may actually sweep them. You got Dallas, the Giants, the Browns, Pittsburgh, and Tampa. Tampa's the only one that I see is not really a gimme. I think y'all could beat Pittsburgh, but the rest of them, you should handle business. But that road schedule, boy,
brutal.
That's criminal.
Brutal.
Next award,
it's not like any of those teams are, maybe they won't be that good next year. Maybe some of them won't be as good as they're supposed to be, but those are all spectacular quarterbacks.
Go ahead, James.
Right, this is our last award, the Cinderella Award, formerly known as the most surprising team in the NFL. Is anybody going to pick someone other than the Commanders?
I am. I'm actually going to say Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, in which James, I don't know if you saw him at Lee Steinberg's party, but Coach Sean Payton was there.
Yep. Oh yeah, I remember seeing him.
Yeah, he was there. I shook his hand and everything. He won some award. But no, shout out to those brothers. Yo, no one saw the Broncos doing what they did this season, man. That AFC West is about to get just a little tougher. Now they sent 3 teams to the postseason. The Raiders are the Raiders. They already sent 3 teams to the postseason. And now you got Pete Carroll coming to the division. It's looking like it might be the toughest division in football, potentially. Okay. But what the Broncos did, in my opinion, nothing short of amazing for a team that was rebuilding. I think they were maybe 1 or 2 years ahead of schedule. Their first round was against Buffalo. It was what it was. Nobody outside of Mile High had them winning the game. Probably people in Denver had them losing the game. But guess what? What they did this season was a huge step up, and I think they got a bright future. I think Sean Payton finally found his quarterback, so hats off to them boys. Cinderella Award, the Mile High Soldiers.
I was
I'm
going to
trying to
say the
think, but I
Foreskins, but I'll
really,
go a different direction.
I really don't see how you can give it to anybody but Washington. They surprised everyone. Jaden Daniels, great rookie season, made it to the NFC Championship. I really don't see how you can really give it to anyone but the Commanders. So the Commanders are my pick.
Dom?
I'm going to say, and only because it's patting myself on the back for being right, and it's not nearly as much of a surprise really as Washington or Denver, but
He
just to
gonna
be
say
different.
Sam Darnold.
Yep.
The Purple Cowboys.
The Purple Cowboys. Granted, he choked when it mattered most. You know, he played the Rams twice, played the Lions twice, came out with a donut in victories. They kind of, I mean, I don't know if you could say losing your last game is like limping into the playoffs, but I think we all knew what was going to happen in Arizona. No one had Minnesota winning that game. And it's not like they came from nowhere because they did make the playoffs the year before, did they not? They at least had a winning record, but and Kirk Cousins is not exactly any great shakes, but I don't think anyone saw Sam Darnold quarterbacking a team to 14 wins. I can't say that I
Probably not.
did. I had him pegged all year for a comeback player of the year. I think he could have been maybe just as deserving as Joe Burrow. Minnesota, after all, made the playoffs. Cincinnati did not. Not that that's Burrow's fault. Burrow did have a better year. I never went and looked at the votes. I feel like Sam Darnold barely got any votes. He had to have gotten some. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look after the show. I'm curious. I mean, yeah, really, it's the Foreskins, but I just wanted to say something different. Pat myself on the back. Also, not that I necessarily believed it, but a lot of pundits had the Vikings finishing last this year, which they did not.
Yeah, so congratulations to the Purple Cowboys for, I guess, not being trash, but ultimately,
Yeah.
ultimately still being destroyed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the awards that we have for tonight's show.
Oh, buckets. Please don't bite me.
So anything else you guys want to say before we get off there for tonight?
Hi Dom's cat. Dom,
Buckets.
by hook or by crook, you gonna be in California next year.
You know,
You damn
Yeah,
sure
so-
would have had a blast in New Orleans.
I will
I've been
be
to LA, I've been to San Diego in the 80s. Never been to New Orleans.
I will be in the Red Cowboy Stadium in 360 something days.
That I might have to figure out a way to make it happen. Have not been to California since the 80s. Really would like to go back. As much as I would love to go to New Orleans, and I'm jealous that you guys went. It looked like you had a blast and did some good
Well,
shit.
you know
California, I don't know if I could pass that up.
You know we'll put you in for it.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
absolutely.
You know we will.
Those hand grenades were dope. So basically, on Bourbon Street, they have a drink called a hand grenade. It's like a long, it's a long, glass, not really a glass, but it's plastic container, whatever. The bottom of it shaped like a hand grenade, and is a long tube, and so get this, it's Everclear and margarita mix, and surprisingly, it's amazing. And
Margarita
Awkward
mix, you
silence.
can pour margarita mix in almost anything, and it's pretty good. Personally, I
Yeah.
prefer like limeade because margarita mix is a little too sweet for me for my stomach. But whew, Everclear,
I
that ain't
really
no
like.
joke.
My favorite drink was the Irish coffee. That
Oh
stuff was
yeah.
good.
Yeah. Shout out to Dave DeRocher and his boys. We went up there and we watched Dave DeRocher attempt to bartend. It was funny, but he had a lot of his NFL alumni guys there. We took some pics, had some drinks. Irish coffees were great. I think I had about 3 of them before we set back out on Bourbon Street. But yeah, the Irish coffees were they definitely were pretty dope. I had never had one in like a milkshake form, like how they had it, but it was really good. It was really good.
I
All
don't
right,
really
ladies
like
and
coffee,
gentlemen.
but I'll drink an Irish coffee every now and then. It's just like coffee and JMO and something.
Yes.
Bailey's.
Yeah.
Creamy. Beige.
Yep.
That's an old Greg reference.
Well, everyone, that's season 4.
Another season of the Gauntlet. Eagles Super Bowl champs. Could have ended a better way. And we will see you guys pretty soon. Thanks for always tuning in and supporting the show. Part of the Sideline Sports Network.
Good night, Laramie, Wyoming.